Welcome to the ValuePros Show, where ValuePros get value ready. Hi, this is Bruce Scheer, your host, and in this episode, we are talking with Ray Schloss about how to be discovery and demo ready. Ray is an enterprise sales veteran with over 25 years of experience, including 17 years at Microsoft, where he served as the Global Technical Sales Director for Microsoft Business Applications. Ray started an amazing community there where he served as head of enablement over 1,000 sellers at Microsoft. Talk about at scale. Ray is known for his impactful presentations that touch both the heart and mind of his audience. He brings a wealth of knowledge on how to conduct effective discovery and deliver memorable demos. Whether you're new to sales or a seasoned pro, you're in for some valuable insights on how to stand out in your next customer engagement. Let's dive in. Welcome, everybody. I am so excited about this episode. Here we are with Ray Schloss, and what we'll be talking about today is how to be discovery and demo ready. So thanks for tuning in. And this comes from the context, Ray and I, we know each other from the National Speakers Association, and we've connected, and we've got so many things in common, especially as it relates to B2B, B2B sales, sales enablement, revenue team enablement, so much in common. But I shared with Ray this new framework that we have that we're making available to the world. We want to help folks, especially revenue teams, be value ready as we move into 2025 and beyond. And we just think it's imperative. There's so many drivers for this. Buyers are getting smarter. Everybody's being AI enabled. But how can sellers show up as value professionals, being more value ready, able to create value across each critical touch point along the buying journey? So that's what this framework's all about. And Ray, after talking to him, we really zeroed in on how to be discovery and demo ready as just two key critical components for closing deals, both now and in the future, as selling's probably going to get even tougher. So Ray, thanks for being here and just for illustrating for us, just why this is so important. And let me just go ahead and kick it over and let's start that discussion, Ray. Why is discovery and demo ready so important?
Well, Bruce, I think one of the key things about discovery is that it's not like how we feel in our own personal lives. Has anyone ever approached you and tried to convince you of something when they know nothing about you? So they may come and be like, I know what's in your best interest, Bruce. Like, have you ever heard of a politician do this, right? And you're like, you don't know anything about me. Like, why should I listen to what you're saying just because you have an agenda and you want me to buy into your agenda? Not going to take you at your own word before I really do some research on who you are and what you represent.
Yeah, you made me think about people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Much you care. That's right. And even then it might be dicey.
Yeah.
But anyways, the thing about discovery is that customers feel the same way about business transactions as we do about our interpersonal transactions. And one of the things that is most repelling to us as people is whenever we come across the insincere. So if you're able to step back and go, you know what, that guy doesn't care about me. He just wants me to be an additional component to him achieving his goals and agenda. And I might not want to do that. Or that lady is talking a lot of nonsense and somehow she wants me to think that she's actually saying something of value. It's not happening, right? So going to customers, having done proper discovery, which this is one of the things I love just in our personal conversations, Bruce, that you've mentioned, it's discovery used to be, you could kind of show up with having some idea about the nature of a business. We did some Lexus research. We went online, we looked at their quarterly statements, maybe we joined their last quarterly call. We've got some idea of the org chart, right? But nowadays, as you like to advocate, if you use AI, you can actually use ChatGPT or your favorite, large language model and actually do discovery as if you were prepping for the meeting and show up with a completely different level of understanding of what the customer's business needs are to truly go in with a sense of sincerity instead of just being like, hey, Bruce, I saw you graduated from, University of Washington some time ago. And, or something like, and just having it be more just salesmanship rather than genuine empathy. So now that we're able to become even better educated in our discovery processes, it can really make a difference in hopefully the outcome of then moving to presenting value and securing a customer win.
No, I love it. Gosh, I've been reading a book recently called The AI Edge, and then we've also built a prompt library that's featured off our website, off our resources tab at ValuePros.io. But I encourage everybody to go get that. We're giving it away for free, and I use it every day. One big point, though, on that and doing discovery and leveraging AI, verify, then trust versus trust, then verify. is just the key word. I'll tell you, I was meeting a guy the other day and go, hey, Peter, check out, I'm playing around with some of my prompts and everything. Look what it produced about you. He goes, Bruce, that's not me. He goes, that's not my title. That's not my focus. And I'm like going, but yeah, man. Definitely. I mean, everything's going to evolve and get better and better and better. A friend of mine, his CEO is creating a cognitive layer over large language models just to get rid of some of that nonsense and make sure there's a judgment layer to make sure things are right. And that's AI driven. But yeah, just, verify, then trust is my big warning, at least right now, before the world totally changes.
Wow. Unreal.
Yeah.
Well, Bruce, I think the other part that comes with this then, if we move kind of to the next step of it is, okay, well, let's say you've done proper discovery and you have the opportunity to be with a customer and you move to the next step of the sales stage, which is usually would like to see what you're talking about. So some kind of presentation or demonstration. And how do you optimize for success? Well, I like to think of two key things, but they both are built off of effective discovery, right? So if you have gone through the discovery process, you've leveraged what you've learned in your preparatory time, like we've just talked about, and you've identified the win statements, which I think is something that is absolutely critical whenever you're going through discovery, is that if you want to get to an effective demonstration or presentation, you want to be able to present value, you better find out exactly what the issue is that they're trying to overcome. If you say, oh, we need a new supply chain system. Okay, well, why do you need a new supply chain system? Well, the other one's pretty old. Okay, it's pretty old. Is it going to be sunsetted? Well, it's not going to be sunsetted, but we think it's kind of clunky. Okay, well, why do you think it's kind of clunky, right? And you just keep driving out of the fact of, okay, here's the deal. We're getting a 16% reduction in our HR and hiring budget for the next 12 months, and we have to find a way to become more efficient. And each and every one of our customer sales reps needs to be able to close 8% more business within the next fiscal year, or we're not going to make budget. Okay, well, now we know exactly what the problem is, right?
Yeah.
So you've got your win statement. Now, how do you present value that our solution is going to give them a 10% increase, and you're actually going to come out ahead if you move forward with our solution, right? So now you got to show that. And the important thing of that is, I think these two things, Bruce. One, you've got to demonstrate value, which is part of the reason that whenever you and I were becoming friends and, through the National Speakers Association, and anybody who is watching this or listening to it that enjoys public speaking, or you do it for a living, or you're in sales, or you just want to expand your ability to be an effective public speaker, whether that's virtual or in person, on stage or behind a camera, whatever it is, highly suggest checking out the National Speakers Association. And our beloved chapter in the Pacific Northwest, if you live here, but they're all over the country. The best one, right? But they're all over the globe, and they're all. But anyways, like, when we got to know each other, and you're like, wow, hey, I have this consulting company, everything called ValuePros, and it's all about how do you deliver and present value to our customers. Like, wow, man, that is great. I remember of the 17 years I was at Microsoft, we had a gentleman named Bob Ertl come in with our corporate vice president of sales, Hayden Stafford, and they just absolutely were on a beeline course to getting everyone prepared to be able to do business value selling. And it was a huge shift for us within, at the time, it was Microsoft Business Solutions. It's now BizApps and Dynamics and everything. But how much it changed how we went to market, because we realized any conversation you're having with a customer, and if you're talking about features and you're not tying value to the features, so what? And we used to do these, I led these enablement boot camps for all of our incoming technical sales people for our division of Microsoft. And we would have our friends at 2Win come, and we would take them through Demo to Win and Discovery to Win and everything. And one of the great things is there would actually be a sign that we would hand out through Demo to Win that just said, so what, as a huge demo crime. Because if you're up there going, oh, this is one of my favorite features. Do you know that our invoice matching now gives you the ability to take 3 line items from this and 3 line items from that? Isn't that cool? And you're sitting there going, and, right? Oh, and by the way, that's going to reduce your amount of time to do invoice matching by 26%, one after another, multiply that for a day. You just save 17 minutes in your workday just by using the solution. Oh, okay, well, now I see the value instead of just the feature. So when you're looking at how you drive value, you are determining whether someone is going to go with you or go with a competitor if they do a better job. So value is absolutely important. I know it's the bread and butter of what you do, but it's coupled with the second thing, which is emotional impact, right?
Ray, can I interrupt you before we talk about the emotional impact? Because I think this will go deep into, it's really important. Back up front when you were talking about so what, and then you were even citing, hey, you're going to be able to do that faster by 26%, or, you were using hard metrics. Where did those metrics come from? I think there's a stat that 99.5% of metrics are made up by sellers, but
that seems low. That's a little low, Bruce.
No, but I know in a Microsoft context, Microsoft is a lightning rod for any lawsuits, and they always double and triple verify. But how do you guys have those salient value metrics that you could point to? Most organizations don't have them. I was just curious, what's different about Microsoft and being able to cite those value points?
Wow,
and make it more
love
tangible.
I love that you brought this up. We used to tell people when we were taking them through our technical boot camp training, like, you've got to use metrics, but don't you dare use ones that you can't verify. Yeah. Because nothing will turn a customer off sooner than if you're unable to cite the source. In fact, we would always try to encourage people, cite the source if it's on a slide, even if you were in a conversation. If I say to you, hey, Bruce, year over year for 2 fiscal years, 26% improvement in your ability to do 3-way invoice matching. And by the way, I'm sharing that with you because that has been the consensus of 17 of our customers where we've implemented the same system that you are evaluating. And that's what they've realized over the last 2 fiscal years, right? So then you've got evidence, but you don't want to do it without being able to verify it. So we would always caution people, it's actually better to go a little under on data if it's sketchy. Mm-hmm. So, and because there's a believability factor with it too, mm-hmm. right? So if I came to you and said, hey, Bruce, we're going to give you a 3% improvement in your overall turnover rate. So if we can stop 3% of your workforce leaving, what is the value to you going to be? And if you do the math right, and you know that that's a legitimate outcome, then you may be able to, with that 3%, justify the expense of the project that they're considering.
Yeah.
If you go in there, it goes like, every quarter, 12 less people are going to leave your organization. Over a year, 48 people. Are you kidding me? And you're probably sitting there going, yeah, I think you are kidding me, because that sounds completely unreasonable.
Yeah.
Right. So it is, I love your, verify but trust thing.
Verified then trust. Yeah. No, but I like the discipline that Microsoft would have to do those studies and generate those consensus. I just see that lack of discipline in the product function, sales function, the customer success function. And that's so exciting when that goes well, because then you're building confidence through your demo as you highlight these things. That's awesome. Well, hey,
one more thing on that real quick, Bruce. You know how you get those stats? Is you've got a great product and a great relationship with your customers. Because if your product's not great and they're not getting an ROI out of the last implementation, and they're not being handled well from a customer success perspective, then whenever, I call you up and I'm like, hey, Bruce, it's Ray from, Thriving 24/7. And we really want to know how that enablement software is working for you. How's that going? And you're like, Ray, we've been trying to get a hold of you because the implementation is still not complete. We are 3 months out of, range and $100,000 over budget. And are you calling me because you want a reference from so
yeah,
if you want genuine data, you better have genuine care for your customers.
Yeah, I'd say genuine care. And Ray, over to our framework here. One of the final steps of making the initial sale, what we preach about in the buying journey, is being impact ready. And what you're doing with your customer at that point is talking about, hey, how do you win? What are those metrics? Just like what you were talking about in the in your demo and making those value points and how it's going to move the dial. If that's something the customer cares about, that particular metric, staff turnover, productivity, or whatever it might be, and they have some specific goals, in terms of being impact ready, you could talk about, hey, how do we measure success? Because I want to get you promoted. Of course, I want a return trip ticket so we can create more value together. Yep. How do we, set that up? We can't measure everything, but what would be practical to measure so we make sure we achieved what we both wanted to achieve? And then just get that set up a little bit before you get into deployment, et cetera. So you can do a swing back, and you've already kind of thought that through a little bit. How were we going to measure and make it easy to get that data? Versus on the back end where you're really contingent on having a great relationship as you speak. I think it's both and. How do you set it up right? And then how do you deliver the value, making sure your client's happy and giving you the right to, reference that, that success and build those metrics. Well, hey, back to this storyline, we talked about, the so what and getting into the kind of the tangible financial types of metrics, but you were turning the corner to talk about the emotional contribution, which I just think is huge and probably the number one thing. But yeah, tell us, what have you learned there? What advisement would you give us?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that I was in mainly technical pre-sales for over 25 years, right? And it was something that very early on, I was like, oh, if you do this, then your outcome is better. And if you don't do it, then your outcomes are not so great. And that was being able to contact and connect with your audience's heart as much as the head, right? So was always striving to find a way to make a heart connection with people. And this really comes down to, are you having an emotional impact, right? So you can prove value, and that will speak to people's logical processing of why your solution might be a good one. But if you do something memorable, that is going to help them choose you because of the emotional difference between you and one of your competitors. So I was always encouraging people as we were taking them through sales boot camp and everything, try to find a way to have impact and make a connection with people. Now, let's go back to your guidance on AI-driven discovery, which I love, and our opportunity to find out more things. Now it's a little scary, but you can find out a lot more. You say, "Hey, ChatGPT, tell me all about Bruce Scheer." Well, Bruce really
I've checked. It only says good things. Yeah. It's safe. Yeah.
You know what? I don't want to look at mine, man. I'm just like,
it doesn't bring up that one story, and I'm just going to stop right there.
Yeah, it's like, don't ever ask a question you don't really want to know the answer to, right? So anyways, yeah, and Maya Angelou said that people aren't going to remember what you tell them, but they will remember how you made them feel. And if you think back to, how many umpteen video conference calls have we been on, webinars, in-person demonstrations over the years? Hundreds and hundreds. I know you and I are still in our youth, Bruce, but over the years that we've done this, how many times can you point to an event, either online or in person, where you can remember what happened? And how many are just like, oh God, did we go to that customer and talk about that 6 years ago? I guess we did, because apparently, I still have the slide deck from it. Well, what happened in that meeting? I couldn't tell you what happened in that meeting, right? Versus the times when someone said or did something that was so memorable, you were able to pull an emotional outcome from it. And so this is really what can make the difference, because let's go back to three-way invoice matching, right? So the majority of the time that I was at Microsoft, of those 17 plus years, a lot of it was supporting, like financial services and a technical sales consultant for our supply chain and everything. So we'll go back, three-way invoice matching. If you have a scripted demo where Oracle was in 2 weeks ago and SAP was in the week before you, and here comes Microsoft, and you have to go through 3 days of script by script, step by step, show us how you depreciate this fixed asset, show us how you take a derivative and add it into an invoice. All those things that for most of us would literally be the cures for insomnia, right? And you have to find a way to differentiate your company, your solution, because week 4, after they've seen 3 different companies come in and present how they do invoice matching for 3 days, who's really going to go, oh God, you know what? That one screen from Microsoft, I just loved how the amount of the total number of lines on that invoice just populated right down there at the bottom right of the screen, right? Nobody is going to say that. But if they come in and say, oh my gosh, the story that sales consultant told about how the woman who was able to use this system was able to leave work 20 minutes early every day, and she actually clocked her time and shared that with them at a users group. And on one of those 20-minute saved days, she was able to help someone who was hit by a car because, XYZ went into this whole story. Now you're going to remember it. Yeah. But back to the thing is, don't make it up. It's got to be real. But if you can find an emotional tie, who's going to remember that better than, oh yeah, that one little, line at the bottom right of the screen had a great way to sum up that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Making it real, storytelling, so critical. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So,
well, good stuff. Well, Ray, just, maybe, what would be some of the key steps that you'd recommend, just to be demo and discovery ready, or excuse me, let me flip those, discovery and demo ready. What would be some steps, just senior or junior sellers, what would you recommend steps to take just to up your game?
Yeah. The very first thing would be, if you want to think about it as do unto others as you would have them do unto you, but put yourself in the customer's seat. What would you want to hear from a company coming to sell you a solution, whether that's a multi-million-dollar enterprise implementation or something as easy as, we're going to have a new grammar checking solution you can layer on top of whatever you're using for document management, right? So, and just think, what would you want to hear? And come at it from that perspective. So that's going to give you a customer-centric view instead of, oh my gosh, if I don't land another $150,000 within the next 2 weeks, I'm not going to make my quarter, right? Because everyone can sniff out desperation on the part of a salesperson. So go at it from the customer's perspective. And if you keep that in mind, then when you go into discovery, all the great things that we talked about regarding like now how much more robust that can be because of AI and how much more information you can accumulate. Prepare yourself, be prepared. I think I, have shared with you before once that one of the worst scenarios I can remember from Microsoft days was that we had a situation where there was a medical device manufacturer in New Zealand, and they created artificial hip joints and knee joints and things. So it was us against a major competitor that had some experience in that vertical, and Microsoft always goes to market with partners. So we went in with a partner, and the partner used the default demo data set that came with Microsoft Enterprise Solution demo environments, which was a bike shop. Okay. So I go into this, medical device manufacturer, and I wasn't there in person, but I had to help remediate the situation. Like a third of the way into the demo, the customer just said, stop, done, leave. They shut it down for the day. The decision committee leader contacted the Microsoft rep and said, come in with a different partner and make it relevant to our business, or don't ever call us again. So thankfully we were able to, recover. I don't actually remember what the outcome of that was, but they did go with a different partner who realized maybe we ought to make this data and everything relevant to the customer and really make it customer-centric and customer-specific. So if you don't do that, you're really going to be hurting. And that discovery process that we talked about, identifying win statements, right? Even just like the story that you shared, that was absolutely, you've got to go in and find out what is the measure of success. And if we can't prove that measure of success, if we don't know what it is and we can't prove the value around us doing it, we're not going to get it. So getting your team ready, I would always like to say, we need 1, maybe 2 win statements, and just everybody get that. And that's the mantra. We can present value on these very specific items of success that we know that if we knock this out of the park and can prove value around those 2 success statements, your question really is, why would you not choose us? So. Yeah,
and you're identifying those success statements, what the customer values through that discovery process, right?
Absolutely.
And you're proving that you can move the dial through the demonstration process.
Exactly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. I think I'd mentioned to you, Ray, one of my old clients, he, a business value guy by DNA, but he was helping the team sell WebSphere, and they actually created another application that mimicked WebSphere, but that they could truly customize for each target prospect's environment. Put their logo on it, but even more, really tailor the look and feel of the demo for them, so the customer could see themselves using it was their ultimate goal. Of course, WebSphere was too complex to do that in advance of every demo, so they literally built a separate application that would mimic WebSphere, the look and feel of it, so they could tailor it and customize it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, and I think when we talk about the actual demo too, and that was a perfect segue. How prepared are you with the solution to make it customer-centric whenever you actually give the presentation? And which it sounds like that was an ideal example of someone who really put the time and energy into making sure that they were. So, and dry runs are fantastic. especially if you have a team where there's going to be 2 or 3 or even 4 speakers. You want to be able to make sure that the handoffs and the segues are managed correctly. The timing in the agenda is accurate. Does everyone have the amount of time that they need without being too verbose about it? So just doing that preparation step can really make the difference too, because if you go into the presentation or the demonstration and you're not really prepared and you don't have your ducks in a row, again, it will be visible if one of your competitors do. So you want to make sure that you're setting the high bar, you go in with professionalism, and doing dry runs is a great way to help prep for that.
Gosh, Ray, I haven't told you this story, but have you ever heard of the frontline partnership between HP and Microsoft?
I have heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I helped HP, the HP side of that equation, win a Marketing Circle of the Year award by Hewlett Packard. Yeah. But you talked about preparation. My team, we worked between Microsoft and HP. We identified 8 solutions where we wanted to do executive briefings around each solution. And so we asked the sales organization to identify a prospective client for a particular solution. Sellers would nominate that. And if we thought, hey, it met the criteria, we would just go all in on it. And we would do so much preparation. To your point on preparation, where I mandated, as part of the process, if there's going to be an executive briefing and client-side executives are going to be there, we've really got to knock it out of the park. So we'd do all the preparation in advance, getting everything ready and rehearsing and going for the executive briefing session. And one of the big reasons we won an award, Ray, is our connect rate. If we did an executive briefing for the client, over 50% bought that solution. And at that time, that was in the millions. So, it really worked well. I can't stress enough the preparation, the rehearsal, making sure you got great handoff, just everything's smooth. It works so well.
Wow, that's a great win rate, Bruce.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, man.
Literally huge. Yeah.
I think with that too is you want to make sure, which it sounds like that's a great example of when it works, is that you want to make sure that your sales person or team is working with your demonstration product technical sales team. I don't know if you were ever in the situation. I've been in the situation before where the salesperson in the middle of the demo just stops us, hey, Bruce, can you show that thing that we went over last week? That was really cool. It was that, how did you do that ingredient list for the bill of materials or whatever that was? I bet they'd love to see that.
What was it, this Ray, or was it that? Or, let me fumble around a little bit and try to figure it out.
I didn't prep for that. I didn't build this into my data, so
I'll see if I
how
can
am I going
find
to
it.
demo
Everybody,
it?
Hold your breath for 5 minutes. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So, and that was one of the things too, I think about just the importance of discovery is we used to say, no discovery, no demo, because a salesperson, obviously they're under a little bit of a different pressure than we were on the pre-sale side of having to prep the presentations and the demos and lead discovery and everything. So if they thought they had a hot tip, the number of times you get a call from an account executive or a sales specialist and they'd be like, Bruce, look, man, this is the biggest deal we're going to get in the pipeline this fiscal half. I really need you to do a demo for me on Thursday. And you're like, well, Ray, it's Tuesday. No, I know, man. But here's the thing. Can't you just do the demo that you did last week for me? Because you knocked it out of the park, buddy. I know you can do this. Well, we don't know anything about who's the customer or whatever. I'll send you their website. Check it out. And then, no, that's not going to work, right? So the preparation and taking that into the demonstration is absolutely critical if you're really going to,
Did you have criteria then, Ray, or was there a framework or guideline for how sellers could, brief you guys and get you ready? Or
we definitely had Microsoft was really big on sales methodology and frameworks.
Yeah.
But I'll say this, like almost like what is it? No battle plan, survives the first contact with the enemy, right? That likewise, really great sellers usually don't depend at all on sales methodologies, and generally they despise them, because if they've gotten to a point in their career where they're an effective salesperson for a global major corporation, they already know the things to do, because they wouldn't have gotten to that level in the first place. So, someone in the product marketing side or the enablement side coming and saying, Bruce, I'm going to tell you how to sell. And you're like, hey, person who's put this together, how much time have you spent in the field in front of customers? Well, I have, that's not my job. I'm strategy. I do this. Yeah, well, I've been out there, for the last decade, and I kind of think I know what I'm doing, especially because I've made quota, 8 out of the last 10 years. How about you just leave me alone?
Yeah.
So we would definitely run into that. So, but great salespeople, they have their own ways of doing it, and usually they recognize the value of being prepared, doing proper discovery, presenting value, having emotional impact, or they wouldn't have gotten to the level that they are.
Yeah, perfect. Hey, Ray, one of the times we were talking, you told me a story, and I don't want to give it away. I don't know if you could remember it. We won't fumble around, though. I know you know it. One of the central characters' name's Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie. So this was when, going back to over 25 years ago or whatever, where I really was getting the understanding of the value of emotional impact and how you bring that into the sales cycle. And I heard someone mention something to the effect of, oh, there's a great metaphor in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory about the Wonkavator, because it can go in any direction. And boy, that's a cool way to think about how a really great enterprise business solution could work. And I just took that, and I was like, it was one of those light bulb moments, Bruce. And I was like, wow, is there something there? Okay, I can work with this, right? So I developed this whole story around it, and it had to do with, for those of us who have seen Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, there's, the whole story about, Grandpa Joe and, how Charlie was going to be excluded at the very end as the last contestant because he kept the everlasting gobstopper. So they go into Willy Wonka's office, and, there's only half of a clock ticking and half of a, bus that he's got his hat on, and half of the desk. And he's just, Mr. Wonka's just scribbling away, and he's obviously very upset. And he tells Charlie to leave, and Grandpa Joe's irate and like, you're a fraud, you're a cheat, how could you break a boy's, hopes and dreams and everything. And Willy Wonka turns around, he's like, no, you stole fizzy lifting drinks, you did this, and all the rules that they had violated through the course of it. And, and you stole an everlasting gobstopper, which was the setup from Slugworth. Was every kid going to keep that and take it and sell it? And so, he turns out, good day, sir. He turns around back to his desk, and you're just in this emotional state of like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen, right? So we would, in the course of telling this, I would have just set up how our solution that was allowing you to take any data field on any form and had a hyperlink that would dig into an endless array of how you could get to a different solution. So if you had an invoice and there was a company and you wanted to find out, how many invoices has this company, been through in the last month, click on that link and it takes you somewhere else. And you can just keep digging and digging really endlessly through the whole database. And so I would have set that up and then come back to Mr. Wonka. So Charlie reaches into his pocket, right? And he pulls out the everlasting gobstopper and he sets it on Willy Wonka's desk. And he's like, I'm sorry, Mr. Wonka. And Grandpa Joe and Charlie turn with their heads hung low to, leave. And Willy Wonka turns around and is like, Charlie, you won. And they're like, what? And he goes, I knew you could do it, Charlie. I knew you could do it. I knew you weren't going to give in to Slugworth. And, like Mr. Slugworth, and then, the door opens, there's Slugworth. Oh, he works for me. I had to see what was in the heart of whoever I would turn over my factory to, right? And Charlie, you did it. So he's like, come on, I got to show you the rest of the factory. So Charlie and Grandpa Joe and Willy Wonka, leave his office. There's going, he's explaining to him, Charlie, I want to show you the Wonka-vator. And Grandpa Joe's like, the Wonka-vator? And he's like, yeah, the Wonka-vator. Well, isn't that like an elevator? And he goes, no, look, an elevator just goes up and down. But a Wonka-vator, it goes frontwards and backwards and sideways and backwards and every way. And you know what? And Charlie, there's one button I've never pushed, but I want you to push it, Charlie. And it's going to take you wherever you want to go. And that's what we can do with our solution at Microsoft. Right. And so it was, the whole tee up of that. And I actually did it likewise for a company before Microsoft. Because we had a database thing that allowed us to do this journaling feature as well. And a woman came to tears one time. Bruce. That was a very rusty version of it. But whenever I used to do it 2 or 3 times a week, I had it, it was on point, man. But yeah, just, the benefit of, as we know from, National Speakers Association, storytelling, but whenever you're able to take the value of that story was, you're not going to have to go through a bunch of different screens to get answers to your solutions. You can be on one screen and click on a piece of data, and it's going to properly route you to find out the information you need to get.
Yeah,
and it'll take you where you
forget
go.
it. Yeah, it's going to take you where you want to go. That's the big point. Yeah,
that's also copywritten now, so nobody can take it.
Yeah.
Anybody who's listening, like, oh yeah, I got Ray Schloss' story about the Wonka-vator.
No, that's a total zinger. Well, Ray, this has been a great conversation. Anything else you want to leave us with?
Yeah, I would say for being memorable, kind of what we talked about, Bruce, like, be willing to go the extra mile, to almost be foolish. And there's a fine line there, right? But to be memorable, something has to have impact above and beyond all the other noise around it. So whether you're touching someone's heart because it's a story of redemption, or someone overcoming a great challenge, or in this case, something that is fun and exciting, like, oh, Charlie got to go anywhere you wanted to go, right? And we're going to with a solution. Be dramatic to the point that someone's going to remember, I know who Bruce Scheer is, because wow, when he gave us that presentation on 3-way invoice matching, I couldn't get it out of my head. It was fantastic, right? And that is a big difference. Is, are you willing to do something to be memorable?
Yeah, I love it. Well, that's a great note to end on. So darn important, especially in this competitive sphere, and also emotionally getting that customer to want to take action.
Absolutely.
Perfect, Ray. Well, thanks so much for being on the show.
Hey, you
really
bet,
appreciate
man.
everything you had to offer here. I know it's going to benefit a lot of people.
My pleasure, Bruce. Always love talking to you, buddy, and I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, man. Thanks.
All right, see you.
And that wraps up our conversation with Ray Schloss on how to be discovery and demo ready. Remember, the key takeaways are prioritize discovery, become an effective listener, prepare thoroughly, and don't forget to make your presentations memorable and fun. Ray's story about Willy Wonka and the drill around feature is a perfect example of how to leave a lasting impression on your audience. If you found this episode helpful, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your colleagues. For more resources on value-based selling, visit ValuePros.io. You'll be able to check out also our Value Ready assessment. It's under our resources tab. It's free, and it'll help you not only up your discovery ready and demo ready capabilities, you can focus on other aspects to up your game for 2025. This is Bruce Scheer signing off. Until next time, keep focusing on value in every customer interaction.